From the field to the card shop, it's Mood 3PO and Bro PO breaking down baseball and the hottest sports cards. Bro PO, it is a Thursday night, an exciting day, I would say, in general, for the both of us here. How's your night going so far? How you feeling?
Oh, I'm feeling good. Like you said, obviously for you listeners out there, I think you see the title of the episode, and I think it says it all. But other than that, yeah, this is going to be a pretty good episode. A lot of good talk ball, talk cards. It was a good convo.
Yeah, obviously, you guys tell by the title, we had Anthony Ranaudo on the podcast, the owner and founder of Cards and Culture. He's also the host of his own podcast called Up and In Show, which he hosts on YouTube, and you can find the other podcasts. I'll link all of his stuff down below if you guys are not aware. But yeah, it was a very fun episode. He gave us an hour. He didn't need to do that. So the fact that we got an hour of his time just talking baseball, talking cards, talking the economics, the business side of it, also just the happiness and overall aspect of the hobby as well from a player's point of view and from a business point of view. I think this episode was a very cool one. So I'm excited for the listeners to get into it. I'm curious to see what you thought about it.
Oh yeah, I think I don't know if we could probably tell, but I was like, you can feel the nerves at the beginning. But I think once we rattled off like that first question or two, like the combos are just flowing, and it was a really good conversation between us three. And yeah, so I'm excited for everybody to hear it. Um, and yeah, leave some comments. How you guys think it went?
Yeah. So with all that being said, I'm not going to take up too much of y'all's time. Obviously, there is going to be an outro here, but I don't want to take up too much of y'all listeners' time. Obviously, I want this episode to be heavily dedicated to Anthony Ranaudo and his time. So here it is. Here's Anthony Ranaudo, and here is him joining the Cardboard Dugout podcast. Joined now by former MLB pitcher and LSU national champion and founder of Cards and Culture and the host of the Up and In Show. We got Anthony Ranaudo joining the podcast. Anthony, how's it going? How's everything going in Louisiana?
Everything's good. We actually have some cool weather down here now. It feels like fall and it's getting into that winter season. So everything is good. The shop is beautiful. I get to show up every day and do something I love. So
Nice. Yeah,
life
we're
is
in
good.
Texas, so we finally
Yeah,
got some winter breeze kind of going in. Got to the
You guys
gym at
got it too.
6 in the morning, was like 40-ish degrees. Like, oh, this is nice.
Woo. Exactly. Yep. It was very nice. Walking the dog this morning, kind of cold. It's new. Yeah, I like
Yeah,
it.
it felt finally good to turn on the heater on the AC system this morning. I was like, "Ooh, I get to finally put it on, feel a little toasty."
I know. It's like that first time you do that, you smell that burnt smell. You're like, hopefully
It's like,
everything's
man,
all right,
did I leave
for
the
the
stove on
season.
or something?
Yeah,
But yeah, no, it's been
exactly.
nice. Yeah, so
Yeah,
let's get it
but
going. Robbie, I know you got some questions for him. Let's get going.
yeah, I just wanted to dive in. So again, I just want to appreciate, thank you again for your time and thanks for joining us. But really quickly, I just want to get your opinion on Paul Skeens. He's a LSU alum like yourself. So how cool was it to see him win Rookie of the Year?
I mean, that kid is, I say kid, but you don't look at him and think kid ever, right? But I think it's pretty cool to realize that he is a kid. So he is nothing less than extraordinary. I was fortunate enough to watch him at LSU his junior year too, and I remember distinctly. I could probably go back and find the tweet, but I remember sitting and watching his first start and being like, "Is anybody going to talk about this 6'6" kid throwing 101 and just making people look stupid?" It was one of the most impressive things I'd ever seen in person when I first got to see him pitch at LSU, and then to watch him have such quick success in the major leagues is awesome. And obviously, it's great for LSU. Take a lot of pride in that as an alum. So it's always nice to see our LSU boys doing well.
Yeah, you and him
Yeah,
on
I
the
think
podcast too, right?
I think it's kind of crazy.
I have had him on. Yeah, I had him on my podcast. Yep, him and Dylan. But yeah, Paul came on the podcast his junior year or his year at LSU. And I was fortunate enough. I went over to his announcement or whatever little private thing that he was doing. I know one of the owners over there, so was fortunate enough to be in the room and be there with him and share that little experience with him. It was cool to. It was really about him and his teammates from LSU. Jay Johnson was there and everything. And I was just in the background, fortunate to be there because I knew some of the people that owned the place, so it was nice. But yeah, it's really cool. He's down here all the time. He's still in the community. Obviously, him and Livy are a big presence here. But it's nice. LSU kind of like facilitates that environment for these guys to come back with the resources and train here and that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's been cool. Paul's been a cool part of the community.
Yeah, I think like when he first when he got drafted, I honestly think he's probably changing the game the way they see pitchers nowadays. Because nowadays, like teams will draft a guy and he'll sit in the minors for a good couple of years. They want to figure him out, but he just busted on like so quickly, where the Pirates literally had no choice but to call him up. And as soon as he came in, I mean he came out dealing. I mean, I know I know you like to dabble in some betting in baseball. Like I was there too. I was constantly pushing over on strikeouts over. I'm like, nah, he's gonna hit it. So it's pretty cool to see him change the game. And I don't know if it's
Dude,
gonna force other teams to reevaluate maybe how they even see college pitchers. Maybe.
I think we're seeing that a lot, right? The game is definitely changing into a younger demographic, getting to the major leagues a little quicker. I think MLB has realized that level of athlete is more exciting, right? And these younger guys have more personality and more flair, that is a little bit more marketable too. So I think they're ready to push guys up to the major leagues. The game is definitely changing from that perspective, and I think the learning curve is just quicker, right? There's more information that these kids can learn at an earlier age. You're seeing kids throw harder at younger ages, right? Because they're getting this information, whether that's right or wrong, and that's for another discussion probably, but you are seeing a better baseball player earlier, right? So these guys are getting up, and these teams are realizing, like, hey, get them up there, start it up, like let them learn at that level. And guys like Paul Skeens and Dylan Cruz, like, there's no reason they shouldn't be in the big leagues. They need to learn at that level, because Paul, you could see at LSU, was a major leaguer. He was a major leaguer in an LSU uniform right now, and the only way he was going to get better was against the best of the best, right? And that's where he's going to have to learn. And unfortunately, there wasn't that big of a learning curve, for other hitters. Fortunately for the fans, it was awesome. And you're absolutely right. I think you're seeing the power of social media with, Livy and him and that kind of stuff, and the marketability, and hopefully he does start changing the game for the script for pitchers, because in the hobby that we all love and collectibles world, pitchers are just not as sexy, right? You only get to see him once every 5 days. But him being in the media, him being in Hollywood, I guess, with Livy and stuff like that, it allows people to see him in a different light, and it makes his cards a little bit more collectible and his market just a little bigger, right?
Oh yeah, I'm trying to collect every card I have of him. I'm trying to, but market's a little crazy right now.
Yeah, exactly. But the prices are up there. It's crazy. It's hard to actually invest in
Yeah,
them right now.
PSA 10
Yeah.
card sold, a base card just sold. I saw a tweet on eBay or something going, a PSA 10 card from Topps Update is selling for like $300. I'm like, that's a base card. Like, I know you pulled the image variation, the speckle, the $3.99 the other day. I'm like, dude, I don't even know what that card's gonna go for at a PSA 10 if a base card's doing that.
Somebody in the chat said it was like $330 already, or 315, right? The comps on
Yeah,
that one, the one that I
it's
pulled the other
it's
day, it was
ridiculous.
crazy. I mean, we were, in the shop here when his first cards came out. What was it? Draft? I think it was Draft was his Bowman first, right? And so those paper cards were still selling pretty big at that point, but they were like $50. Now they're 100, 125, and we're like, holy shit! Like, the market for his is like it's on Shohei level. It really is. Like, it's comparable to Shohei. It's wild.
Yeah, it's crazy. But I also wanted to dabble a little bit into your career. So when you got drafted back in 2007 in the 11th round by the Texas Rangers, I wanted to get your what was your experience like? Because I've always heard from like former players, like when you're drafted out of high school in the later rounds, like you don't really know that you're being drafted by a certain team. They kind of you just get a call. Was that with your experience with that too?
Yeah, so it's funny because I guess in high school it's different than college. It's a big decision, obviously. Not that, going back for your senior year is not a big decision, but deciding to go to college or go to play pro ball is even bigger of a decision, right? So for me, it was interesting. I had a certain number, right, that I would sign for, and it was kind of known in what it was at the time. And ironically, it was 500,000, and so the Brewers called me in the third round, and tried to offer 380, like, but you'll be a third rounder, all that stuff. So you're kind of negotiating a little bit there, but there's not too much that's tangible. So I had a couple calls in the third round, the fifth round. Then it was like once it fell past there, it was like, hey, this Ranaudo guy wants 500,000, so no one's really going to touch him unless they're willing to pay that, right? So yeah, I kind of lost touch. With anybody, and then I just got a phone call that I got picked in the 11th round, and I was like, okay, well, my number, so give me a call if you're gonna hit it. If not, no worries. They offered 250, in the beginning of in the summer and things like that, and then I went out and pitched really well that summer. And ironically enough, literally the day that I was in my car driving, like leaving my driveway to go to LSU, they called and they offered 420 or 425 or something like that, which was
Yeah.
Honestly, if they would have offered it 2 weeks before that, I probably would have taken it, honestly, and I would have never went to LSU. But I had the car packed, and I was looked at my dad. I was like, no, like let's go.
Oh, you're like
Yeah.
17, 18 when, and you're getting, for a 17, 18-year-old, that's, a good chunk of money. Was that,
Yeah, we didn't come from
yeah,
like that was
was,
crazy. Yeah, it was crazy. But it was like at that time I was kind of like arrogant, I was like, all right, we got the car packed. They didn't meet our number. Let's go. I'll go make double that at school,
yeah, I was
like
about to say, was it kind of like hard to turn down, or was it easier just because you were going to go to LSU?
Yeah, I really, I think I wanted to sign 100%. I wanted to go play professional baseball out of high school. That was like what I wanted to do. My mom was pushing really hard for me not to, to go to school, and she wanted that structure a little bit, and it wound up being the best thing. I honestly, if I would have signed out of high school, it would have been a disaster for me. I wouldn't have been the same player that I wound up being for a little while. So LSU was the best thing for me, just maturity wise, baseball wise, development wise, everything. So it really wasn't a tough decision by the time that I was in the car driving down. But like I said, 2 weeks earlier, I probably would have taken that 420 and just been like, "Yep, let's go do this
Yeah,
thing."
then a couple of years later, obviously, you get drafted by the Red Sox in the first round. Like, how was that experience a little bit more different? Because now you're going earlier, you're getting picked earlier, so I'm assuming the compensation is probably going to be a lot higher, right?
Yeah, it wound up working out. It was a good double down on myself. Yeah, and so wound up having a good college career. We won the national championship my junior year, put myself in a position to be drafted high, and so yeah, it was funny though because similar to my high school experience, um, back at that time, like we won the national championship going into my junior year, so I was actually like they were talking about me being the number one overall pick. It was between, going into the year, it was Matt Harvey, myself, and Bryce Harper were the three names that were like tossed around for number one overall pick. And I was like, oh my God. Like, and so I was kind of in that mix for top five, and all that stuff. And then I got hurt and fell. So Scott Boras was my agent and he, or advisor at the time and stuff, and was like, hey, do you want to get paid or do you want to get drafted high? He's like, it's simple. It's really simple. I can get you drafted in the top 15 picks, like, but you're going to sign with the White Sox or the Royals or, the Marlins or somebody that's going to like pay you slot and you're going to get 1.5 or 1.6, or do you want what you're worth, at the top five pick? I can get you to the Yankees, the Tigers, the Red Sox, that kind of stuff. But you're going to get drafted in the supplemental round, maybe second round, that kind of stuff. But you're going to get your money. And I was like, I want my money. So I made that decision real easy. And so, yeah, I got drafted by the Red Sox. I was actually on a plane flying back from UCLA when I got drafted.
Wow.
I was in the airport and yeah, funny story. I was in the airport and we made this decision, weeks before, like, hey, it's going to be an emotional thing on draft day. So we're going to decide this 2 weeks before. You want your money, right? Like, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So we made that decision. So we start the process of being like, hey, he wants, 2.5 or he's not signing. So that way it just gets out of those, the Marlins are not going to pick a guy with the ninth pick and pay them over slot 2.5. They just don't have it in their budget, right? So when the draft's happening that day, the White Sox are calling me at like the 11th, 13th. They wound up picking Chris Sale, so they made the absolute right decision. But they called me, and Scott's like, hey, yeah, you can go with the White Sox, like if you want. He was like, but you're going to get 1.1, like, or whatever, 1.3. And he's like, do you want that? And I was like, I called my dad. I'm like, I'm panicking. I'm in the airport. I want to get drafted. I'm about to go on the plane, like all this stuff, right? Because I'm like, I want to see my name called on the TV. And my dad's like, we made the decision. That's why you pay Scott Boras, blah, blah, blah. And he's like yelling at me. He's like, go sit in the corner and just deal with it. Like, I'm like, what? I go sit in the corner, literally. I'm crying. Like, I'm watching the names be called on the TV. And I just boarded my plane and then landed. And everybody was like, oh, let's go. Like, and I got drafted 39th by the Red Sox. So I got off the plane, did all my phone calls and did all that stuff. And that's how I found out I got drafted. I got a voicemail from Theo Epstein. Let me know that I got drafted by the Red Sox.
Nice. Yeah, that's kind of interesting too. That you mentioned that you.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously you get drafted by the Rangers, and then you almost get drafted by the White Sox. Like you end up on those teams, eventually in your career. So it's kind of like they have always had their eye on you. So it's pretty interesting.
It's so interesting from a baseball perspective or a business perspective too, because we want to hear a really funny story. When I got traded to the White Sox, um, I had the worst outing of my career the day before against the White Sox. So I was in the big leagues with the Rangers, and I'd never pitched out of the bullpen before. And I came out of the bullpen in a rain delay and like just a weird situation, right? I wound up walking five guys in 2/3 of an inning, didn't get out of the inning, like awful, like boot off the field, all this shit. And then literally the next day I get sent down to AAA, and my GM for the Rangers calls me and he's like, "Hey, so we traded you to the White Sox." And I was like, "John, you're actually messing with me, right? There's no way." Like, I was like, "What? They saw something they liked last night?" And he starts laughing. We were joking about it, like, and he was like, "No, man." He was like, "Actually, they made a run at you at spring training. Like, they wanted to trade for you when we optioned you to AAA, but I wasn't ready to give up yet. Like, I saw you in our mix this year." He was like, "After last night and the way that things went, he was like, I think you just need a fresh start." And he's like, "Why don't you just go do that with the White Sox?" He was like, "I thought it would be best for your career." And I was like, "Damn, John, thank you, dude. Like, that's amazing." Because he easily could have, released me, and like so many different ways it could have went down. So like I really respected John Daniels for that. And it's just ironic how like it is.
Yeah.
Like they were interested in the draft at me, and then they tried to make a run at me in spring training, and then they wound up getting me through a trade when I was kind of like at the low point, and I wound up doing all right with the White Sox. I didn't have great numbers, but it was a really nice situation for me. And they were awesome for me, so it worked out, I think, for everybody.
I was like, yeah, you parked one out of the ballpark for the White Sox. So
I did, yeah. We didn't wind up winning that game, but it was fun to hit a home run there, and yeah, I hit a home run at Wrigley. That was cool. But you know what? Like they wound up I wound up signing in Korea, so they got a nice posting fee for me. So they wound up getting like $600,000 out of it. It's not bad. Like they did all right.
Nice. And kind of jumping, I know you just talked about your bad start there, or your bad coming out of the bullpen. Going to your first start, I know you grew up a Yankee fan. You idolized Derek Jeter, from what I've heard. How did it feel, first off, getting the call from the Red Sox? I know it was kind of an awkward position too, because I'm a Red Sox fan. Obviously, you can tell by my background. So 2014, they just traded away Lester. They traded away Lackey. And then from there, you get the call from Ben Sherrington, I'm assuming, because Ben Sherrington was already there. Ben Sherrington's giving you the call saying, "Hey, you're making your start at Fenway Park." How did it feel to, one, get that call, and two, growing up as a Yankee fan, making your start against the Red Sox at Fenway Park? How did that feel?
Yeah, I'm gonna try not to tear up because I tell this story, and it's one of those things that's just like I don't know, it's amazing. It really is. But the funny thing, like you said, there was the trade deadline happening right at that time, right? I made my start August 1st, the day after the trade deadline. So on the 31st, I was in AAA. I'm charting in the stands. Like the AAA guys have to chart, the pitchers have to chart in the stands. So we knew, we had kind of seen like, hey, John Lackey's probably going to get traded. He was supposed to pitch that Friday, the next day on the 1st, right? And they were like, if John Lackey gets traded, Ranaudo is going to make his debut and make that start, right? So really, all I was doing was refreshing Twitter, like while I'm supposed to be charting this AAA game, and I'm like looking to see if John Lackey gets traded. So the second John Lackey got traded, I kind of knew. And then Sherrington called, or I think it was actually Ben Crockett. He was the player development. I think he was the one that wound up giving me the actual call. But as soon as I saw Lackey got traded, I gave somebody the chart, and I went in the clubhouse, and I kind of knew it was going to happen. So I go outside, I get the phone call, did the phone call, and then I start putting two and two together, because I didn't count my chickens before they hatch, whatever that phrase is. I really didn't look at any plans, nothing. I didn't tell anybody about it, my family, nothing. They were kind of out of the loop just because I was superstitious. And so as soon as I got that call, I called my dad. Oh man, yeah. And that's what it was for me, was the phone call to my dad to kind of just be like, "Hey dude, we did it." You know what I'm saying? And oh, by the way, it's against the Yankees at Fenway, so you better get your ass in the car and get up to Boston and go do this thing. So it was cool, and everybody got up there. My brother, my sister, my two best friends. It was really cool. So again, awesome memory for me. Very, 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 I guess surreal. Just in the sense of Friday night, Fenway, Yankees, Red Sox, first out Derek Jeter, first strikeout Derek Jeter, just fantasy stuff, just stuff you can't make up.
Yeah, I was about to say, man, if you especially growing up as a Yankee fan, I mean, Jeter is part of that core of those guys. So I mean, for you, I can't imagine how nervous you must have probably been.
Dude, it was crazy. I mean, think about it. Kid from Jersey that grew up in New Jersey. I was playing shortstop, and I was one of the better ones on my team, probably the best guy on my team and stuff growing up. You want to be Derek Jeter. That's literally, you're doing the jump throws in the hole, you're literally I'm going to be Derek Jeter. I'm going to play shortstop for the Yankees. So, yeah, it was storybook. It really was. The nerves were more just I want to just make it a normal game. I just wish it wasn't my debut, and so I wasn't nervous necessarily the players. I think I was so tunnel focused of just get comfortable, get back, like just like it's a normal game, you know. So I think that was my nerves. And like I said, it wasn't necessarily the batters in the box, and I didn't even realize I got Jeter out as my first out or strikeout until I got back in the dugout. And both times after the first out and the first strikeout in between innings, one of my boys, Brandon Workman, comes up to me. He's like, "Damn, all right, first out, Derek Jeter, not bad, not bad." And I was like, "Ooh, that was kind of cool." I looked up at him. I was like, "Nice." And then he did it to me again 2 innings later. He's like, "All right, first strikeout, Derek Jeter too. You just had to wait for him to be your first strikeout." I was like, "Oh, that's cool."
Yeah, that is cool. It's pretty interesting that you brought up Brandon
Yeah.
Workman because I wanted to ask you this question. I saw an interview or one on your podcast that you did with the shortstop from Savannah Bananas, Brian Cox, and you told him this story, and
Yeah.
I found it fascinating. You told him this story about how you and Brandon were down at low A, and one of your teammates had hit a home run, and you and Brandon were obviously pumped up for him. You're on the dugout, and you said the next thing you know, your manager was like ready to rip you a new one, saying like, "Hey, we don't do that stuff
Yeah.
here." So I was kind of curious to ask you, and you brought it up earlier that MLB a couple of years ago started implementing the, let the kids play, that they're trying to, I guess, and try to embrace the new celebrations, just
Make the
make the
game
game
fun.
fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you see it changing in a good way for that? Like, do you feel like it's changed compared to like when you were playing?
Yeah, 100%. I'm so happy for the part of me. Like, I literally try not to be salty and jealous because I'm like, it was so boring when I got there, and everybody was such like, "Hey, know your role, like sit down, like rookie." And now it's just like, get up there and you play baseball. And like, if the best player on the team happens to be 21 years old, then that's who it is, and he gets to wear whatever haircut he wants. If he wants to wear earrings or paint his nails, like, fuck, man, like let him be whatever he wants to be, right? And that's how you get some of these great players to show their personality, to have more fun, to create more energy in the stadium, right? Like, I don't know. So I love it. And I don't care. As a pitcher, if a dude hits a freaking 400 homer off me and he wants to look at it, like, that makes me want to make a better pitch next time. That's not his fault. Like, he should. It's really hard to hit a baseball. But also don't get mad at me when I yell at you after I strike you out next time too. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's all good. That makes it fun. And don't stare me down after that. Just tip your cap and walk back to the dugout too, you know?
Yeah.
So I'm for
Yeah,
it.
you
I'm
always
for
hear
it.
like even for, like for the Red Sox, like you brought up painted nails, and it brings up Tristan Casas, how I think a couple of years ago he ruffled a couple of feathers from what we heard from the people from the clubhouse, I guess for veteran players, because he likes to go out and do yoga before the game and soak up the sun and stuff like that. And even just last
Yeah.
year, when he was dealing with that injury, the rib injury, they asked him like, "Oh, how's it going?" They're like, "Oh, I've already taken like 1,000 at bats in my head." And so I guess stuff like that rubs some
Yeah.
people the wrong way. But I'm like, dude, I don't care. Like, this is what makes it fun. Like, it's you making it interesting. So yeah, I don't know. It's
And at the end of the day, fans are the ones paying these guys bills, and you know what I'm saying? So like, for veterans to be like, "Wait, don't do that because it makes us feel weird." Like, hey, dude, it don't matter about you. It's about the fan experience. You want to keep getting paid? You want your salary to increase? Let this kid get people in the stands. Chill out. Like, it's fine. Just because he threw a mic, like, I watched his interview, when he was talking about that stuff. It was like on Sunday Night Baseball, and it
oh
was, I mean,
yeah.
he was a character, but I was like, this is hilarious. Like, this is, and again, it just shows you a different side of the game, and not everybody needs to be cookie cutter. It's like, it's okay that we have different personalities, So I think that's starting to change, and that younger group is about to be the next leaders. So I think it's going to be seamless going forward. It's just, you got to get a couple old heads out of there still that are just like, they still just get rubbed
Yeah,
the
and you
wrong way
mentioned
about
like
stupid crap.
marketability and like bringing the money. Like Red Sox did a promotion. You see that in the background here from me. Like they have a promotion of him doing yoga, and on the bobblehead, I didn't notice until I bought it on eBay for like 30, 40 bucks. His fingernails and toenails are painted. I like, that's a nice touch, and that's what makes it like kind of like you
Yeah.
mentioned, of marketing them a little bit to what their quirks are. So painting your nails, doing yoga. I mean, that's just Cassis, but there's other players that have their own little twerks and things like that. That just makes them marketable and makes fans like myself and everybody else want to go buy a collectible, or maybe there's a Topps card with his nails painted or something that's makes it a little bit more unique than another normal base card.
Exactly. And isn't sports about connecting people, right? Like, so, like, obviously you want to win on the field, and that's probably priority number one, but like, winning also connects people to be like, now I'm a fan of this team, right? And it's all about connection. So if there's a person that likes yoga that now saw that this baseball player does yoga, and they're like, "Oh, I didn't know yoga was in baseball." Now they're watching the Red Sox game. Like, that's a good thing for baseball. Like, why is that a problem? Let the man do yoga. Who cares? Is he happy? Cool. Is he bothering anybody? It's probably making him better, and thinks that he can hit the ball better. Like, isn't that good for the team? What does it matter?
Yeah, and he's out there
You know?
sunbathing too. You could probably get some marketing and some sunscreen lotion. Like, let's go. Come on, let's get it going.
Exactly. Anything, right? Hey, look good, feel good, play good. Don't you want your team to win? Who cares? That guy hits bombs. Let him hit bombs.
Yeah, I wanted to dabble a little bit into your current ventures with your business, cards and culture. One of the videos I had saw, you had helped Josh Jung collect like a 1-of-1 superfractor, and you kind of started this business, if I'm not mistaken, to like help or encourage players to collect memorabilia of themselves as they're playing. Is there something from your career that you hold on to? Like, do you have that first strikeout ball of Jeter, like your first home run? Is there anything that you have that you cherish?
Yeah, I do have some stuff, but that's I think what my passion is about trying to help some of these players realize what I missed out on. I think that's the thing is I think most of us, just like anybody, like I think everything in your life, when you're doing something, you're just like, oh, this is the way it's going to be, or at least I guess I can only really speak to my experience, but I just felt like I was going to play baseball for 20 years, and like they were going to rip the jersey off my back, and like I was going to do whatever I wanted, I could meet whoever I wanted, and just it was young, dumb, arrogant, and so I didn't collect as much stuff as I probably wanted to because I was just like, oh, I'll get it another time. And so, yeah, I'm passionate about showing these guys that side of things, but I have some cool stuff, and I have a bunch of jerseys up in the shop, like in the top part of the rafters. They're like subtly hidden where you can really only see them when you walk out, so it's not like a look at this kind of stuff. But then I have some cool pieces. The Red Sox, you can kind of see. So on that behind that light back there is my actual first lineup card, and then that one there is my home run lineup card that Robin Ventura gave me. So I have that, and they're authenticated. I have my bat and batting gloves from the home run. I have my first strikeout ball. I have my first win ball. I have the home run ball. And then I just have some other stuff throughout my career that I collected. I actually randomly, I thought it was really cool during my career to collect every minor league game worn hat that I ever had. So I have a whole closet full of those because I was like, that'll be really cool one day to show people that kind of nasty because they're sweaty and shit. But I still have them. I just think it's cool, to have that. So not a ton of stuff, but what I wish I would have done was got more done jersey swaps and got things signed by teammates or players across the way that inspired me or that I crossed paths with and stuff like that. So I do have, all right. So actually, really quick, one of my favorite stories that I have to tell, I feel like, if you're going to ask about memorabilia, is I have it up in the shop. It's hard to see, but so do you guys remember the Chris Sale story about him cutting up the jerseys?
Oh,
Do
it's
you guys
vivid.
remember that at
It's
all?
vivid in my brain. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Very cool. All right. So funny enough, since he did that, that's why I got my call up with the White Sox. So I was sent to AAA with them for like 30 innings or whatever. I had like 20, 30 innings. And then one day, and I'd been up and down, so I kind of knew this process. The manager called me in the office. He was like, hey, dude, just sit tight. Like, you might be going up. Like, we got to figure out some stuff. And I was like, in my head, I'm like, figure out some stuff. Usually they know like what pitchers are, going to pitch today and whatnot. He was like, there's some drama going on at the top. And I was like, okay. And I didn't know what to think, right? I'm sitting there in the office, and then he's like, all right, you're going up. He's like, you can't say anything about going up, though. And I'm like, this is so weird. So I go look at my phone, and I'm on Twitter, and it's like Chris Sale suspended. And I was like, oh, okay. I'm like, what the fuck did he do? Like,
No, you're allowed to cuss.
I don't know if
You're
I'm
good.
supposed to.
You're good. You're good. You're good.
Okay. All right. I was like, I wonder what he did. And then like all these reports start trickling out. Chris Sale cut up jerseys. I'm like, what is going on? So I got my start and got called up to the White Sox because Chris Sale cut up those jerseys, right? So I get to the clubhouse. I find out the story. Like, ha, 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 we're laughing. Long story short, I become really good friends with Chris. Like, it just so happened we're the same age, draft, like all this stuff. And we become pretty good friends. So at the end of the season, they come and dump all these like random things in the clubhouse, and they're like, take it for your friends and family. It's all like, stuff that they gave away throughout the year, giveaways and shit. So one of them is this old school jersey that he cut up that he hated. So I was like, oh my God, this is going to be great. I got to go bust his balls a little bit, So I grab it and I'm like, Chris, bro, like we had a great year, dude. And I've never asked for anybody to sign a jersey ever, like since I'm playing. That's what I was saying. I was like, dude, I've never asked anybody to sign a jersey, but you and I are boys. Like, I need you to sign this. He goes, dude, that's so funny. He was like, I got you. So he signs it and he writes, fuck these jerseys, Chris Sale. So I have this jersey that says, fuck these jerseys, Chris Sale. And then he hands it to me and he goes, wait, hold on. I'm going to do one better. He goes and gets scissors and he cuts up the jersey. I have the jersey cut up, and I was like, this is the best piece of memorabilia I'll ever have in my life. So I have it like up in my shop here, and it's up in
Oh
the
man,
rafters. Yeah, it's the only thing that I collected really from my game of
if you
like
can,
jerseys.
please send a picture of that jersey. I need to see this.
I will. I will. I will. I will. I'll send a video in the shop so you guys can see it. I'll send it after. I'll send it on Instagram. Yeah, it's
That's
so
pretty
good.
cool to hear that you're friends with him and stuff like that. So is it pretty cool to see him win the Cy Young finally?
Bro, I was so excited. So I was fortunate enough too. Jaden Hill played here at LSU, and he got called up by the Rockies this year. He was an LSU pitcher, and so he asked me to come to his major league debut because we did some training together. And he's one of my he's like a little brother to me. He's not little though, but he's like a brother to me. And so I go to his debut, and it's in Atlanta. And I was like, oh shit, I hadn't caught up with Sale in a minute. So I shoot him a text, and I'm like, hey dude, I'm out down on the field, right? So I got to catch up with him and say hello to him. And I was like, dude, I just want to let you know, like he had like 2 more starts, and I was like, hope everything. Like, we pretty much knew he was going to win the Cy Young. I was like, I'm so happy for you, because in 16 he had the best year of anybody, and he was supposed to win the Cy Young, and we were all like trying to get it for him. Our team was terrible. The only thing we had going was Sale winning the Cy Young, and something happened where like he had the worst luck in his last 2 starts, and it inflated his like ERA. And it was one of the years, and that's what I found out yesterday. I think it was 6 times he's been a finalist or something. So I was so happy for that dude. He deserves it. I'm telling you, one of the best human beings, just a great teammate. So, and obviously one of the best pitchers of all time. So yes, I was so happy for that dude. He deserves it. And I mean, like I said, just a great dude, great dad, great teammate, everything.
Yeah.
So I'm so
Obviously,
happy
we're
for
like
him.
we said, we're Red Sox fans. So yeah, I loved him when he was on the Sox, and I think he was also even a runner up. I think in 17 when he ended up losing the Cy Young to Corey Kluber.
Yep.
And that was a crazy season
Yep.
too, because he hit like 300 Ks, and that hadn't been done, I think, since like Pedro.
Yep.
So that was like elite stuff, and I thought he should have
Yep.
won the Cy Young that year too. But yeah, like
There was probably 2 or 3 other times that he could have won the Cy Young
yeah,
easily.
so it was so cool to finally see him win it. I wish it was for the Sox, but I mean, that's the business. That's the business of
I
baseball.
know. I
But
know.
it was good to
I
see.
know.
Like you said, he's a good person, a good transfer. I think he's one of the few players that I've seen that he's like real like he knows he's getting paid big money and he wants to be out there in the field. Like he was so transparent. Like when he was in Boston, he's like, it sucks that I'm making all this money and I'm not on the field. Yeah, so he's just an awesome player.
He's so
Yeah.
real. That's what it is. Like he acknowledged what everybody felt. Like, hey, dude, we're paying you big money, and you're not. But it was weird because like it was a couple of them were like weird freak injuries.
Yeah.
Like when like he got his finger jammed and broke his finger out. I remember texting him and being like, dude, that sucks so bad. Like, and there was another freak injury too. It was just like stupid shit. And I was like, oh man, that sucks, because I knew how bad he wanted to be out there, and signing your first free agent deal, like you feel like you owe it to that team and that organization. Yeah.
Oh, you're muted, Rep.
Oop, my bad. I was gonna say,
I was like, damn, I thought it was me.
my bad. One of his freak injuries was, I think it was like his 3rd game back, and I think it was against the Yankees, but he got like a comeback ball hit right back at him, and that's what I think it was like his pinky or something, or his fingernail, something like that.
And
I'm like,
then
yeah,
he
that's
had
just,
Yeah, it was pinky. Like he broke
then he
his
had the
finger.
motor
Did something
the motorbike
stupid.
incident, I think, where he fractured his wrist or something like that, and he was just out for the year. And I think he just came back from Tommy John. That's the thing we loved about Chris. Like he was so open about his struggles here. So the highs were the highs, gained the last out of the World Series, striking out Manny Machado. Obviously, Manny Machado had his history with the Red Sox too. So, doing that, and then obviously going through Tommy John and all that stuff. So, and he's been very vocal. And he had that quote there. He's like, Boston, I love you. Like, and I'm sorry. He had that quote when he went to Atlanta. So no, we love Chris Sale here. I know he was even at a Celtics game recently. I think against the Cavaliers, if I'm not mistaken. He was still like, he still enjoys the environment here in Boston. So it's always cool to see him it still embrace the Boston environment.
I think they gave him a nice embrace when he came. I think he came back this year, right? Like and pitched there or something. It was really cool to see, or whatever. Like played there.
Yeah. So he pitched obviously shoved against us, so it wasn't anything surprising against us. But we mentioned there a little.
Yeah. Boston struggled against lefties this year too. I was betting on that a lot.
The over on that on the K's. Like Red Sox going against the lefties, they struggle against lefties.
Yeah, me
I would take
too.
the over on that strike on Underdog Fantasy. No sponsorship for Underdog.
Yep.
Over on them and got an easy hundo in my bonus bets there. So it was an easy pick for me. We briefly mentioned their Josh Jung a little bit there. One thing that kind of caught my attention there with him as well is there's also a video on his channel on YouTube there of you opening up a 2011 update with Mike Trout. So I wanted to see that. How cool was that? Because Mike Trout also too is like very well known in the hobby. So to have someone like a megastar like him opening up cards and kind of embracing the hobby. And another follow up question to that too was like during your heyday, it seems like now it's very popular to open cards with like your teammates. Was that popular like in your when you're playing? Like, did you like rip packs with the boys either in like the minor leagues, clubhouse? Like, was that something that was very popular back then?
That's another reason that I'm like, I feel like I'm screaming at the top of my lungs for these guys. I was like, I wish I just would have bought cards when I was like making money that you guys are making. Like, you guys have no idea. So no, it was not a thing. It was very, yeah, collecting cards was not a thing. And it was ripping cards was not a thing. That was, yeah, it was kind of like a weird feeling, honestly, like signing cards and stuff like that. I got big into collecting sneakers when I was playing ball. So like that was more of like what was trendy and kind of cool then. So yeah, no, it wasn't, and that's why like I'm so pumped that people like Mike Trout and Josh Young, and now I've been working with Dylan Cruz, who loves doing this stuff too. Like these younger guys, I talked to Max Clark at the World Series game, and he's like, I love it. Like the younger generation enjoys collectibles and enjoys cards, and it's almost like a social currency a little bit. So that's kind of cool to see. And when you have leaders like Mike Trout encouraging young kids to collect their cards and collect guys that like him and stuff like that, it just makes it more fun. And honestly, as like hobbyists, right? Like first and foremost, we do it because of the love of sports, a team, a player, that kind of stuff. So to see those players engage and want to be in the same hobby and like the same things that we do, it humanizes them so much, makes them so much more likable, right? So for me to sit there and have the baseball background and be like, I played at this level, now I'm on the business side of it, to watch Mike do that stuff and then to be in the chair next to him, sleeving his cards with him, like was awesome, and a full circle moment for me to be like, this is a really cool experience. And then to watch Josh, a kid that was probably 12, 13, 14 years old, watching him when he was winning MVPs, to sit across from him and rip cards as colleagues was a really cool experience for me too, to help him bring that to life. And again, just kind of like grow this hobby that we all love and create some cool barriers around it, that make it fun to collect and feel like there's access to these guys when we really think, they're on this pedestal and everything, but they're really just like us, and they like the same things, and they like enjoying the same thrills and rushes that we do too. So
Yeah,
it's
and you
cool.
mentioned the marketability again, because I always knew Mike Trout was into cards, but I know the old thing with MLB too was that they never knew how to promote their stars, and Mike Trout's always like a silent leader. So to kind of see him open up those cards, talk about Wemby, I know he's a big Eagles fan, obviously. So him talk about his collection, him open up his Pelican case, showing off all those slabs that he had. I was like, man, it's just cool. Like I like Mike Trout now. I'm gonna go find some Mike Trout cards. Maybe I could try to afford a PSA 10 Mike Trout rookie
See?
card.
And what I was telling Dylan, so Gavin Dugas and Dylan Cruz are two LSU guys that are now with the Nationals, right? And they're starting to get into cards. And I'm like, guys, not only if you enjoy it, why wouldn't you lean into this? Because like you're almost doubling down on yourself and your marketability. And like the way I told them, right, like both those guys are in two different categories. Like Gavin is a senior sign that was drafted in the top 10 rounds for an affordability thing, right? And he's gonna have to grind his way to the big leagues. Let's be real. Like that's gonna be him. He's gonna have to really truly earn his way. Not that Dylan didn't, right? But Dylan's path was different as the number 2 overall pick, right? And so their major league careers may play out differently. But what I told them was like, both of you are increasing your marketability, right? So Gavin, I was like, if the organization has a decision to make between you and another guy who didn't go to LSU, maybe he doesn't even speak English, right? And maybe fans don't know him in this area, and you guys are on the same level playing field, who do you think is getting the call there? It's probably going to be the guy that puts more seats in the stands and that they're going to buy the jerseys of, right? Because that's marketability, right? So you might get a call, or you might have an opportunity because you're engaging with fans and they know your name and you won a World Series at LSU and you have this following. So, right, wouldn't you want to collect your own cards and engage and give bats to people for cards and like create this cool atmosphere? And Dylan, same thing for you. When Scott Boras is going to war for you to negotiate between 200 million and 300 million, if your jerseys are in the top 5 of selling because you're fun and you're personable and you connect with fans and you help put fans in the seats, like, don't you think that's a good thing for your marketability? Like, you know what I'm saying? So again, these guys are starting to be like, oh shit, like this is fun, it's worth my time, and I get to connect with fans that are actually helping me in my career, and all these different things. So everybody wins. I was like, it's an altruistic thing that is ultimately no cliche, but a home run for everyone, and it's just fun. So it's really cool to see that kind of transition in the game, because again, it wasn't there when I was playing, for sure.
Yeah, like you said, like for the marketability, like if kids see that Dylan's doing, so good with the Nationals, they're gonna want to go buy his jerseys, and then like they look into him more. They see his Instagram. Oh, look, he rips cards. I want to go buy a pack of cards. So then the parents are there taking the kids to the card
Exactly.
shops, and that's a whole nother gateway right there.
Yep. Tops is making more money, Fanatics is making more money, so then Dylan Cruz is going to make more money too. So everybody, right? The agents are going to, everybody's winning. Like kids are happy, fans are happy, they feel connected to Dylan. They feel like they have access to somebody who is on this elite level of playing, and he is, right? And he lives a lifestyle that's different than everybody. So again, like it's interesting that a piece of plastic or a piece of cardboard can connect those dots and do that kind of stuff. But again, it's what I love about this business and why every day I feel like it's a joy to go to work.
Yeah. So again, what's your business cards and culture? Kind of wanted to ask you about that. So when you decided to step away from baseball, was that a hard decision, or was it easier because you have like the idea back in your mind? Hey, I want to start this business. Um, cards and cultures. I don't know if you had the name yet, probably not. But did that was that decision
Yeah.
already in your head, and did it make walking away from baseball a little bit easier? I know you mentioned a little bit earlier that you thought maybe you played for like 20 years. So
Yeah, no, I think I got to the point in my career that I had a lot of injuries. I was frustrated. I was immature, honestly. Like I was just impatient, right? I wanted all the results yesterday versus understanding processes and procedures and stuff, right? So, at the time, it wasn't a hard decision, honestly. I was burnt out with baseball at 28. Like I really was. And which is ironic enough, right? I was making the most money. I made 1.1 in Korea and I was unhappy. Think about that. Like, so it's just stupid. Like just being young and dumb and the opportunities that I had and all that stuff, right? Like I was in the major leagues and I was thinking I needed more and all this stuff. So, to answer your question, it wasn't a hard decision to walk away. Um, I didn't have anything lined up. I had made some small angel investments throughout my career. I was sitting on, fortunately a decent nest egg, that I could go to work with and knew that I had options and I didn't have to rush into anything. I had just hurt my hand in Korea, so I was still getting paid from them and I was finishing my degree at LSU. So cards and culture wasn't in the works. And I actually started, I brought a couple F45 training gyms to Baton Rouge first. And that was like my first real business venture that I ran and did. And then we opened up a week before the pandemic, the global pandemic. So that was super fun to learn how to handle that. But F45 kind of taught me a little bit about community and the importance of connecting with your people in your city. And then I started getting back into cards, and like one thing kind of led to another with my podcast, and it made me kind of want to have a space. And with COVID happening, things were cheap, right? So I found an opportunity, and honestly, just one thing led to another. And I've learned this business, over the last 4 years, through passion of trying to create a positive experience for fans, the passion of learning about business, supply and demand laws, and understanding like sports cards and collectibles as assets because I like investing and I like the stock market and I like alternative assets and things like that. So I saw it as an avenue to almost like redefine that side of investing, I guess, too. So that's where like I saw the opportunity with athletes, and I kind of was hoping that it was going to trend into athletes being into their own cards and own collectibles. So that's kind of a nice thing to see starting to come to fruition.
yeah, I like how you mentioned how you said that you were making $1 million and you still weren't happy. I think that's like the most like I guess like popular opinion that people say like, oh, like when I have all this money I'll be happy eventually, so I'll just I'll stick it through, or I'll just hang on. And I don't think that's always the case in sense in life. I think as long as you're doing what you do, you like what you do, you love what you do. And I think essentially I think that's what this hobby's about. Like, I collected cards, when I was a little kid too. I dabbled in Pokemon cards, Yu-Gi-Oh and stuff like that when I was a kid. And then as we got older, I started dabbling into baseball cards again, and then took a quick break. But I think it was probably COVID too, where we're all stuck, locked in the house. We're like, what do we do? I don't know what to do anymore. You know.
Yeah,
So I think we
exactly.
all started digging through
Yeah.
like old collections
And
again, and then just recently, well, Nick here, brother, Moon, he started his social media content and stuff like that. He wanted to start a pod where we just talk about baseball, talk about cards. I was like, two things I like to talk about.
easy day. Yeah, exactly. And that's what I mean. Like, right, having these conversations and just talking about this stuff also brings so many things to light. And connects so many people on different levels too, right? Like, I mean, at the core of it, it usually starts with some sort of love of collecting. I was the same way. I was playing it on my Game Boy, and then when the cards came out is when I really started love of collecting. I had a few baseball cards here and there because I was reading the stats on the back so I could go, like know it with my friends. But Pokemon was really what got me into collecting and like understanding the collectability of things and the value of things. And I think that's the fun part about this business that I do now too, right? There's economics to it from that are beneficial to me, hopefully someday, right? Like as a startup, we're not there yet at all. But the fun part is like people come into my store, and whether it's an 8-year-old kid trying to like buy a new pack or sell a card to me, or it's a 14-year-old or it's a 42-year-old, like there's supply and demand laws that come into play here, and it's educating people on the economics of that, which is super fun for me. So it's cool learning lessons for kids, understanding like a little bit of business, entrepreneurship, and that kind of stuff too. So that's the fun part about this hobby that we keep saying, right? It's about collecting at the foundation, but there's so many levels to it that keep people engaged and connect people too.
Yeah, like I love it. I personally love it. I have a 3-year-old daughter, and I like to every now and then just go buy some Pokemon cards and just rip them with her. Like she thinks it's the coolest thing ever. She likes Pikachu. She pulls it. She's like, Dad, I love it.
And that's a
And it just like yeah, it's
gives you an excuse to
speechless.
be a
Yeah,
kid still.
yeah, yeah.
That's literally what my job is. I'm like, I just get to be a big kid and put some money behind it. And as long as we're profitable and I get to keep hiring some cool people, life's good. Like, this is awesome. And so, yeah, we just get to play every
Yeah,
day. It's
no,
really
it's
cool.
definitely
That's
it's cool. That's
awesome.
why I always say like you have like the dream thing going on. You played baseball, you played a kid's game, and then you're doing some kid stuff. So I always say that it's very cool what you're doing over there in Louisiana with cards and culture and all
Oh,
that.
no. He's frozen.
Oh,
There we
cut off
go.
there.
Oh,
Oh,
I
my
think
bad.
you
he'll
cut
be
out.
back.
Oh, it's my bad. No, I was
You
just
cut
saying
out.
there.
There we go. I love that thought. I love that. You gotta go with that because
Oh
that's what
yeah,
I
but
say
I
all
was
the
saying that
time.
like,
So
no,
finish
man,
that
you live
thought.
the dream. Like you played a kid's game and you're doing kid stuff, and you're bringing happiness to the hobby. You're bringing joy, like you just mentioned, or a kid coming in there, or someone like myself who's in their 20s trying to go and get a debut patch maybe out of a hobby pack. There's different levels to it.
Exactly.
Which I kind of want to follow up there. Like, what do you think right now is the overall state of the hobby? Obviously, we know what Fanatics tops, and we have so many sets, parallels, and kind of like what you mentioned too. We got people mentioning, it's all about the money type thing. Like, what do you, and you're from your mind, both a collector standpoint, obviously you being on the business side, because that's what I like about this too. Like, my brain just reads business, reads investments. Like, what do you think the hobby is, both from the collector
Yeah.
side and both from like a business standpoint?
I think our industry is really in great hands with Fanatics. I know they have a monopoly on everything, so there's probably not a ton of growth for like new companies and stuff to be billions of dollars and but from a collecting and economic standpoint and a business standpoint, there's plenty of money to be made on the business side of things. But I think Tops and Fanatics really is doing it right now. I know there's so much product, right? But I think what they're trying to do with that is just bring all different demographics into this world, right? And that's what I'm excited about. There's a lot of opportunity still in this space with kids, older people, women, right? Different demographics and different sports becoming more popular. So I'm excited about the economics of things, like because I think it's human nature to collect and feel and want to feel connected. So I think Tops does a really good job from that sense of promoting things there and allowing small businesses to be able to be profitable and make money off of that kind of stuff, right? But at the same time, they're doing little things in the industry that is psychologically genius, in my opinion, because it caters to the collectors. Little things like MVP buyback programs is teaching people how to collect and the value of collecting what you like or collecting of something of value, right? It's teaching people a different mindset and not necessarily, oh, I'm going to spend 500 to go make 2,000, right? Like, yes, there's an element and a gamble and a fun part of that, but really at the core of this, collecting is like inherently in us. So if you can go get as many packs of Shohei and Judge, like watch what that does for you, in your hobby. So like again, I think they're just doing and the debut patch, right? There's demand there, there's fun, there's games, the players want it. Like there's just a really good in my opinion, again, my opinion, balance that Fanatics is doing in this space, making things cool, making it fun, getting influencers, getting top level people outside of sports that are in pop culture, getting the highest level athletes, creating good products, creating collectability avenues, and then, like I said, the economics for a small business owner are there as well, between the breaking and then the direct, product and things like that. So as long as you kind of have that avenue to go market and have the space and build the right team, I think there's a lot of ways to play on both sides for sure.
Yeah, those debut patches are I probably like one of the coolest things I think I've ever seen them do, and I think that's what
Oh
makes
my
it
God.
cool because I guess it's like the thrill of the chase of like, yeah, the odds may be like 1 in 28,000, but there's that small little chance that I could get it. And I think it's pretty cool, like how they're starting to
Yep.
market it, like the bounties, like the Pirates put out that bounty where they're offering like 30 years worth of season tickets. Like I don't
Unbelievable.
think we've seen anything like that before. And even the what's his name from Golden, the Ken Golden, he even like retweeted the Pirates like, hey,
Yeah.
before you even decide to take that deal, like let's talk real quick.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
the marketing that they're doing is
No,
crazy.
I love the
Yeah,
bounties.
yeah,
And it was great for me as a shop too. I got lucky, right? Paul's in Baton Rouge and Libby and all that stuff. So we had, I mean, when that stuff went out there, like we sold out immediately that day. I was like, oh shit, I was gonna rip tonight. Like, like literally, we've had to like order more inventory for rips and breaks because there's so much demand. And I'm like, dude, there's so many people that have never heard of sports cards, but now are doing it because there's different elements involved. And that's the cool part that I think they're doing. They're just hitting different demographics. And yeah, I really do appreciate what they're doing for
Yeah,
the
you even
hobby.
mentioned too,
yeah,
like even some like other collabs too. Like I know, I think people like you talked about marketing, kind of throwing to different ads, pop culture. Like even Tops 2 having the Cactus Jack at Fanatics. Like I know some people hated those. I thought they were cool.
That's
And it kind of brings somebody who
They're
may have
freaking
Travis Scott
awesome.
ones sneaker. Like, oh damn, they have Tops cards too that are chrome of this baseball player. Let me get this, and then maybe now they even start watching baseball. So I think I agree with you 100% on that. I think they're, even though it is kind of a little bit of a monopoly type thing, you can say what you want about Panini, Leaf, whatever that you're kind of into. But I think Fanatics and Topps have done a really good
Right.
job of promoting their products and kind of promoting of what is what. And like you mentioned, have different avenues. You want to go buy a cheap box for $100, get one auto, one rather. You could do that. You're a big spender. You want to go try to go find a first Bowman Chrome of a Dylan Cruz, a Paul Skeens. You got your $1,000 product there. So there is definitely different avenues for where you kind of dip your toes in. So I think you nailed it there perfectly.
Yeah, and I think, like you said, right, like bringing the Cactus Jack stuff in, there's obviously going to be traditionalists that don't like it. That's what we're talking about baseball, right?
yeah.
Like that's the problem with baseball is there's a lot of traditionalists that don't like the young fun stuff. But hey, guess what? There's a whole demographic that does like Cactus Jack, and exactly what you just said. Somebody who might collect his shoes, his T-shirts, listen to his music, might be like, "What's this baseball card thing? Oh wait, it's the same economics as sneakers and supply and demand, and I can make money here." That's freaking awesome. That's good for the hobby. What does it
Yep.
matter? Like there's more people, more eyes, more, like it's good. So I agree. Like that's, and I think again, more people in here, the better. It doesn't matter, age, demographic, look, sound, whatever.
Yeah,
More
more
people, the
eyes they
better.
get on the product, I think it's probably going to be like that's key. The more people you draw in, because I think
Yep.
a lot of people, like specifically baseball, they always say like, "Oh, baseball's too boring," or and stuff like that, or it's too long. And I think that, obviously they tried with all the rule changes. Um, they're trying to get more eyes on the product, and now Shohei, like with Shohei, like they market the guy like crazy to the point where they were like making memes.
And rightfully
Yeah,
so.
and they were making memes like like they would be like on commercial break and like, oh, Shohei's like 6 batters away from batting up. So it's like, you know, it's
they, yeah, they know their buzzwords to put
yeah.
out there.
And last, I know
Yep.
here we're approaching that hour here, Anthony.
Yep.
So obviously, want to be courteous of your time. Last question I know I had for you is, what would you say to someone who maybe is wanting to start collecting, or maybe like myself, like I sell trading cards on the side. I know my brother here, I kind of got him into that a little bit as well, kind of selling some cards on the side, get some extra spending money, maybe go buy that $500 box, or maybe maybe it helps you pay off your bills. What would you say would be some advice to either one, a young collector trying to maybe start collecting baseball cards or any type of other collectible like sneakers or anything like that, or two, what would you be to someone like myself who's maybe wanting to open up a business one day, let's sell a trading card store? Like what would you say are some key takeaways or key advice that you would give to someone trying to reach those avenues?
Yeah, absolutely. Those are great questions. So I think for the first one is kind of what I see a lot in my shop, right? So there's usually some first questions that I like to ask, and like I think that that person could ask themselves the same question, right? Like, what do you like? What are you passionate about? Like, what are you okay looking at all day, every day that doesn't necessarily have to do with value, right? So I think that's the first question, and that person then will answer that. Then from that question, now, what's your budget? What are you willing to spend to bring yourself some joy and happiness. And then what are you now from that number? What are you willing to lose? Because there might be some if you're going to chase or you're going to take a risk on something that you like, then there's going to be a value associated to that, and then that value may change, right? So then you just got to be educated on how and when they change. So I would just kind of go down that process with them and encourage them to do some homework. So just go figure out what sells well, what products are popular based on what you like after that. So for example, right, if you like Giannis Antetokounmpo, that's cool. Let's start there. Now let's figure out your budget. Cool. I have $200 to spend over the next 3 months. Great. Now let's look at either single cards, like if you're just looking for one card, or do you want to look at some products that you could hit a nice card of him and you're not really worried about what else you get, and if you lose the 200, you lose the 200, but there's a chance to get a $500 Giannis, right? So then I just would lay it out for people to give them options and almost educate them on, do they want to be a collector? Do they want to be an investor? Do they want to be a risk taker? And there's different ways to go about it in our space. And everybody has different wants and wishes, right? So that's kind of my route of what I take when people come in my space and ask me questions like that. So, and then from a business perspective, I would try to understand your own economics, because what I learned in this world is I had a pretty nice nest egg to start this stuff. Um, and running a business, there's a lot of overhead that you don't account for, first and foremost. And then second, in this business, you need money to make money. So what I learned in the beginning was there's certain products that sell well and certain ones that don't, right? So I spent a lot of money on products that didn't sell well and I didn't have high margins on, and I didn't realize how much money I would need to get that good product to be, you know what I'm saying? So I think just understanding supply and demand margins and things like that. And then I would encourage people to start as small as possible. So if you could start with both you guys or just by yourself as a business, start there and let your time determine when you should grow and add more overhead, right? A la opening up a space, hiring employees, LLCs, and all these different things that just come into play when you're running a business. So I think that would probably be my advice: is start slow, start small, and make sure that the market and your economics determine when you grow. Because I think I started probably way too big, way too fast. I was just lucky that I had a little bit of a nest egg that I could have a little room for error, but I know not everybody had and has that same ability that I had because I was fortunate enough to play baseball. So hopefully that answers
No,
kind of
that's
your
perfect.
question a
Yeah,
little
like,
bit.
I know him and I, we kind of like talked about on the site because we're in San Antonio. That we have like a lot of card shows here, so yeah, we're in San
Oh,
Antonio,
I
so
love
we
San
have like
Antonio.
every weekend
Yeah,
there's like always a card show, and I just like sitting. I've been growing inventory, like buying collections, things like that, sending cards off to PSA. So like I'm just sitting
nice.
on inventory. Maybe it's not a player that I don't necessarily collect, but maybe there's a $300 like I'm on my eye. I've been eyeing a PSA 10 Mike Trout card, been eyeing it for my collection. Like maybe if I sell this card, I can go get a PSA 10 Mike Trout card. So definitely posting up at shows, different things like that. It's been definitely been on their mind a little bit. So now I definitely answered my question.
Yeah. Oh, it's good, good. And then I mean, like what I would suggest for even individuals like that, obviously you're kind of at the handicap of shows in your area or having to travel and stuff like that. But if you know popular areas or like little malls or like so we Perkins Row where I have my shop, there's like small little like booths almost that you can like do a pop up on. So it might be
Yeah.
cool to maybe explore in your area on certain events and weekends to be like, hey, how much would it cost for me to just pop up this weekend and set up a small mini like stand, because there's going to be a lot of foot traffic on Saturday and Sunday, and be like, let me see if I can make 2 grand from what I have in my inventory, right, and stuff like that. And then you just do your economics to be like, it's going to cost me $400 to rent the space. I'm going to hire one other person, give them $100. Like, can I make this like off of that? And you just try different things, and you just keep being like, oh, I'm actually good at this or not good at this, and then you just figure out through trial and error to see if it's like a viable business or not for you.
Yeah, I think we're also starting to like gauge our area a little bit. So, like when we go to shows, we kind of see the same vendors and we kind of see what they're selling. So obviously, like Wemby's big in our market from the Spurs. To a lot of the Texas Rangers players like Evan Carter, Wyatt Langford, those guys are popular in our area. Some of the Astros, the Dallas
Yeah,
Cowboys. So I think that's it. We're just trying to. We're starting to get a feel for like what's popular in our area, and of course, like for me personally, like
nice.
I sell a lot of Aaron Judge cards. Like for some reason, he just sells well for me, and so it's like I gotta go. Like you said, I can take a certain X amount of dollars that I know I can afford to lose, invest it into some maybe higher end Aaron Judge cards, and then kind of go from there. So, uh, yeah,
Yeah. And a judge market too is you feel safer investing in that, right? Knowing that he's gotten a little bit more established market than maybe an Ellie De La Cruz, who is still early in his career, right? So at worst case, if you have to hang on to the judge for a year or two, like it's probably not going to be the worst investment, right? So over time, like he's kind of put in enough work where you're like, all right, this is a safer investment if I'm going to go a little higher
Yeah,
too.
it's a funny story about hanging on to cards. Just a quick story, kind of we're getting close. But so back when we were collecting cards,
You're good.
um, in 2018, I ended up pulling a Shohei rookie Topps Chrome card. But at the time, obviously, Shohei wasn't like the Shohei that we know now. Like, people were saying like, oh,
Right.
people. I remember seeing like scouting reports saying like, oh, at best he's like a high school hitter and so forth. So it took a couple
Wow.
years where I stopped collecting cards. I was going through live stuff like that. In 2020, I ended up buying a house with my wife. We're moving all the stuff in. And so I was moving stuff out of my parents' house. I had all these cards. I'm like, dude, what am I gonna do with all these? Like, and I wasn't collecting at the time, so I threw them in like in a big old Ziploc bag, like a gallon Ziploc bag. Just threw them all in there,
Oh my
just threw
God.
them. So then a couple of years ago, times go by, moving to the house, put stuff in. My daughter's like, now Shohei's becoming Shohei, right? So I have the stuff put up here in the room,
Yeah.
and eventually she gets into the big gallon bag of the cards, right? And so the cards are just thrown all over the floor. And mind you, I hadn't like really gone back into collecting, and I was like, man, what's in this bag? So it was a bunch of like stadium clubs. The cards are
Yeah.
sticking together. They're bending because they're chrome. Sure enough, there's the
Yeah.
Shohei rookie card. And I was like, oh my god. So I took it out, put it back in the sleeve, top loaded.
That is wild.
And then I actually ended up sending it to SGC. It ended up grading at a 9.5. So
Nice. That's crazy. That's
yeah. So I
awesome.
was like, yeah.
That's incredible. 9.5 in a
9.5
Ziploc bag.
bag
We'll take
needs
it.
proof on my end. Needs fingerprints by Cheeto fingers on the chrome card. I had to give it to me. I had to
Yeah.
dust it all off,
Yes.
microfiber it.
The daughter was chewing on it. She was like, "What is this thing?"
No, yeah, no, it's a
That's
funny story. No
incredible.
fear. Well, Anthony, I do want to be courteous of your time. I know we're approaching that hour here. Obviously, listeners here, you can find Anthony.
That flew by, man. That
Yeah,
flew
no,
by.
that
That
was
was
awesome.
awesome.
Again,
Seriously.
thank you for your time. I really do appreciate it. Listeners of the Cardboard Dugout, of course, you can find Anthony Ranaudo at his shop, Cards and Culture in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. You can also find him at Instagram at Anthony_Ranaudo, or you can even find him on Fanatics Live on Breaks at Cards and Culture. I know you have one. This episode's coming out Thursday, probably be out next week. I know you got a Thursday mixer, and you also do your weekly.
Yeah, we'll probably be in there.
Yeah, we'll probably be in there.
Let's go.
Appreciate you,
Thank
Anthony.
guys.
Appreciate your
Yeah,
time.
let's go. Yeah, you guys
Yeah,
pop in
appreciate your
usually.
time.
Thank you guys. Yeah.
And we're back once again. Thank you to Anthony Ranaudo for your time. Gave us an hour. We went a little bit over an hour. I believe we were like an hour and 2 minutes. As far as of that. But yeah, once again, thank you to Anthony Ranaudo. Again, I'm going to link all of his stuff down in the description down below, his podcast, his Instagram, and we can find Cards and Culture over on Instagram and over on Fanatics Live, where they do the breaks. So yeah, we're not going to talk a lot of ball here in this episode, not going to talk any ball, and essentially I want this episode to be fully dedicated to him. But yeah, I kind of just want to piggyback here for what you said before we cut into his episode. Just overall, how cool was it for you to get obviously we're Red Sox fans. How cool is it for you to get that we got somebody that's Red Sox alumni, LSU alumni on the podcast for the first time ever?
Yeah, it's pretty pretty cool. Like, I don't know. Now I can officially, rock around this earth and said, yeah, I interviewed a former Red Sox player. Put that on my gravestone.
Put that on your bio. You can put that officially co-host of Cardboard Dugout interviewed of our Red Sox pitcher.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm probably gonna have to do that. But no. Yeah. Like I said, it was a really, really fun conversation, and like the convos, it just flowed so well, and yeah, it was so cool that of how much time he was able to give us. I think right when we started off, like we weren't too sure how much time he was going to give us, so we're kind of like, hey, we kind of want to respect you and your time because I know you're a busy guy. Like, how much you got? And he right off the back, he's like, "Oh, I blocked off an hour, you guys." And as soon as he said that, I was like, "Oh, fuck yeah, dude, let's do this damn thing." So yeah, it was pretty cool that we're able to do it, and so hopefully, maybe in the future, we can get him back on the pod. Maybe when the season starts up, maybe we can get him on again, and we can kind of shoot the shit again because yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that he definitely mentioned that, getting him on whenever we can. Yeah, I think that'd be something that's pretty cool. Obviously, he's into we kind of mentioned a little bit in the podcast as well that he's done a little bit of sports betting, anything like that. Maybe get his insight on what he's picking for a weekend or things like that. So I think it'll be pretty cool. And I think that's what this hobby is all about. And what I when I started off with content, not even just the podcast itself, it's just the overall content. It's like building these relationships with these people. If it's a normal person that's on the street or someone who's a bigger personality, if either in the sport and the hobby, and the fact that we were able to accomplish this in short time of we had the podcast, I think for both of us in general, I think it was really, really cool. And yeah, again, really, really appreciative of his time. I think this is just a tipping our toes of the water of what can be done. And I feel like we ourselves, the podcast, the content, can only go up from here, in my personal opinion. And I'm just really excited to see where this takes us, where this takes the content, and just yeah, overall, just really, really excited to see what happens for us moving forward.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's crazy. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah. So I'm not gonna take up too much of this time. Again, we wanted this episode to be fully dedicated to Anthony Ranaudo. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed this episode. Again, like we mentioned, this is our first time ever that we ourselves are hosting a podcast together, and first time having a guest and doing an interview like this. So it was very new for us. Obviously, we listen to a lot of we consume a lot of podcasts, and we had a general idea of what to expect, what to ask, things of that nature. So the fact that he was very receptive of it, and hopefully the audience is also very receptive of it. Hopefully you guys enjoy it. If you guys enjoyed it, if you're on the YouTubes, make sure you leave a like, comment down below if you enjoyed this episode. And again, do not forget to hit the subscribe button. We're over 600 subscribers, which is crazy to me. Thank you guys for that. Really do appreciate you guys all support on that. And like we just mentioned, I think this is just a little bit of a stepping stone of where we can get this content to go, and I think we can go even higher. And I feel like, yeah, I think it's only up from here. Um, I don't know if you have any final thoughts as far as of that before we hop off here.
No, I never really said it again, but I just want to thank, of course, Anthony Ranaudo again for taking the time, to come on the pod with us. Like you said, like we're fairly new into this, and I think even when you reached out, like there was like no hesitation on his side to come on, and I think even when he come on, he was like, yeah, man, I'll come on the pod and like doing this stuff. So like he's just a real chill guy, real down to earth, so knowledgeable with so much stuff, and yeah, so it's I'll be excited when we can get him on again. Like I said, I think the only way is up from here, so it's gonna be fun.
Yep, only up from here. Again, all this isn't possible without the listeners and the subscribers of the content. So I really do want to be really appreciative of you guys who actually tune into the episodes, are subscribed, tune into my videos, tune into the podcast episodes. Really am appreciative of all that other support. Again, if you're listening to on Spotify or Apple, make sure you do leave a rating and a like on this on that episode or on this whole overall profile, because that does push the algos out. So we definitely want to get this out to as many people as possible. And again, if not, subscribe to the YouTube channel, because that's where you will get the video version of this podcast. I am shooting for, hopefully you are listening to this on November 22nd. I am really hoping that you guys will listen to it as soon as possible. So hopefully you're listening to it on Friday. If not, obviously you are listening to this on a Monday. But regardless, hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode. We will be back. We are going to be taking a little bit of break just because, like we've discussed here, I am getting married officially on Saturday. So I will be out for a little bit, but we will be back strong the first week of December. So again, hopefully you guys enjoyed this full episode, and just keep out again on the socials. Follow us, all of our social medias, Moon3PO. That's all of my social medias: Twitter, YouTube, X or Twitter, Instagram at BroPO. You can follow him at _ROBBEEE. All of his social media there. Also on TikTok, he's also ripping no packs on TikTok, so stay tuned for that.
Oh yeah,
guys.
We got some breaks coming in.
Yeah, we got some breaks, and then we got hopefully an exciting video coming out on my wedding, not on my wedding day, but a video being filmed on the wedding day. So I think it should be pretty cool for all of us involved. But yeah, guys, thank you guys for listening, watching, supporting everything that we do, and we will see y'all in the next one.